Digital has transformed the industry, mostly for the good, but it has. In terms of the physical manifestation of film, I mean, it's transformed how we physically get stuff to cinemas and how people consume that content. On an advertising point, I think and a publicity point, I think it's important to remember it's still only a medium. It's still only a means of delivering a message. I think we all got obsessed a few years ago that digital was going to be this silver bullet that was going to transform our advertising budgets were going to be slashed and everything was going to make a lot more sense. It was going to be less risky because we didn't have to spend as much money as maybe we had in the past. I don't see any signs of the marketing investment changing. The method of delivering that message has changed. In a digital world now, it used to be, you know, if a film had maybe been disappointing in another territory or somewhere like domestic, that didn't really impact that much on what we were going to do in the UK, because by the time that message got across here, you know, we were probably released and enjoying that. But now, as soon as, especially on high-profile films, as soon as the first word is out there, you know, that spreads like wildfire, and that can be good for you, and it can also be very bad for you. So, you know, the Rotten Tomatoes element of movie distribution now has become a real thing. You know, when a consumer's faced with so many choices, they will look for sources that they trust to give them an informed opinion on whether this film warrants them to go to the cinema. And consequently, an easy and quick way of looking at that is the score on Rotten Tomatoes. You know, it's very, very simple. The thing's either fresh or it's not. And so we have to maneuver ourselves and our release around that scenario. So more often than not, we'll be day and date with the US, so we'll release at exactly the same time. It's a global marketplace now, and especially with franchises that, you know, the world wants to see the film at the same time, generally. In the past, maybe we'd be able to manage that more effectively, but now more and more, digital has meant this has become a global marketplace, especially in English language territories.
Digital has meant that cinemas can be much more flexible in their programming. It used to be that the cost of a 35mm print, which is a huge thing, was such that the distributor would say, you're only getting one of these if you agree to play it all day, every day for 2 weeks, because the cost was huge. Now the cost has come right down, and so the cinema can be much more flexible. They might say, we're going to play it for one evening show and one matinee show, and the job for the distributor then is to say, well, look, could I push for more? Or if I push for more, am I going to end up with the cinema saying, well, we can't give you that, so we can't play the film at all? You have to be really smart at working out, the split show is the best you're going to get, and do you want them? Or could you push for a few more shows? Is your film good enough to do that? Sometimes, with a case of a really strong cinema with a very high footfall, and you might have a medium film, you would take that all day long. If it's a fairly lower grossing cinema and you've got an incredibly strong film, you would say to the cinema, no, if you want to play this film, you've got to play it a lot. So it means there's more flexibility in the negotiating as well as in the final playlist that the cinema put out to the public.
Moving to a world with digital delivery has increased our flexibility massively as an exhibitor. It allows us to get films almost instantaneously through digital download films. We can catch errors before they happen in terms of films that are corrupted or late deliveries, so that we're never off screen. It can also mean that we can move films up should something be far more popular than we anticipated. We can move that to a bigger screen. We can also move film performances so that one show at one particular time of day will be in a completely different screen. So the flexibility that it's given us is massive. In a 35mm world, it was one film per screen, and if you've ever seen a projectionist drop a film, it's one of the worst things that can happen, and many, many hours of picking up film from a floor.